How's it going? This is my simple fungus stem farm. Unlike other huge fungus farms, it's quite simple. It doesn't have a huge piston wall or TNT spam. Instead, we use a modified version of ilmango's log converter to push the blocks into a single block stream. This block stream can then be fed into a cuber where you can mine the blocks later, or into a wither cage or a TNT Blast Chamber such as this one by ilmango. I'll leave resources in the description on how to set up a blast chamber and cuber and whatever else, and how to connect all these things together in the description. This cube over here of glass is actually not necessary. I've mainly done it for aesthetic purposes. However, a few transparent blocks are needed to protect the warp blocks from generating on somewhere that is inconvenient, like over top this redstone dust, which can cut it and absolutely break the farm. Before we get to the tutorial, I do want to cover one thing I had issues with during the creation or the design of this farm, and that is this one block space over here. As you can see, the smart piston is pushing it out, and updating the smart piston, the smart piston is pushing the blocks out, and to update the smart piston, we require this piston over here. Now, naturally, another warp block, or a warp block of any type can generate in this space right here. And we could solve this problem by just running the stream back over here, but that would kind of defeat the purpose of this really simple concept. So I tried a few other things in the meantime. The first thing I tried was water, and well, long story short, that didn't work, and lava wouldn't have worked either. So eventually I settled on just keeping the piston extended while the tree generates, or the same tick that the tree generates, or the fungus generates technically. I don't think this behavior is intended, so I've left a bug report in the description. Just to be clear, this farm works with both tree types, or both fungus types. Yeah, that's it. Let's get on to the tutorial. So in this chest are the contents of, or the materials that you're going to need. To be clear, this is one dropper and one dispenser. Down here are some optional stuff, as in, like, for example, of course, depending on which tree type you're going to, which fungus type you're going to be growing, you're going to need different type of nylium. You're going to use one sticky block. It doesn't have to be slime or honey. It can be either or. It doesn't matter. Both work. I have included over here a couple non-sticky blocks, and this is mainly for aesthetics to prevent this sticky block from pushing the warp blocks that generate here in and out, and I kind of like that choice. So, I mean, completely optional, but if you want it, you should. Here it is in the material list. Then we have rails of some description. You can either use activators or powered rails. You could technically use redstone dust, but that's more laggy, so I recommend using powered rails instead. Or activator rails. Either ones are fine. I'm going to use activator rails. You could also interchange the iron trapdoors with fence gates. Again, actually, this doesn't have to be iron trapdoors. This can be any type of trapdoor, and same thing with a fence gate. It doesn't have to be a birch fence gate. It can be any fence gate. Either or work fine. I'm going to use iron trapdoors. We're going to power that smart piston I was having issues with a half-filled composter. This, I think, is the most lag-friendly solution. You could use a torch with a repeater, but this is way more lag friendly. So if you do decide to use a composter as opposed to like a furnace or something else, make sure you have some items on hand to fill up the composter halfway. We're going to cover that. I've left bone meal storage up to you, so I'm just leaving this stack of hoppers here. It doesn't have to be a stack of hoppers. It can be like one hopper and one chest, or however many, up to you, but you should take that into account when talking about materials. Then we have our building blocks. Unlike other tutorials, I'm going to be using glass blocks as the default and then denoting which blocks are solid instead of the other way around, where most people use solid blocks as the default block and then denote whether a block needs to be transparent or not, such as a slab or glass. This is mainly for clarity's sake, so you can see through the farm and easily detect any mistakes and do counting. Then we have these set of strange blocks. These are for preventing tree growth, and two of them, one button and one block, are actually used to prevent wart blocks generating in your head when you're standing in this position. So I've laid them out here. All right, with that out of the way, let's get started with the tutorial. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the clock that powers the dispenser that we have over here above the nylium block of your choice. We're going to have a solid block beside the dispenser. with an observer pointing into it. And then a little bit over and to the left of that observer, we're going to have another observer and then a sticky piston pushing that observer into the first observer. We're going to grab our only lever and we're going to put it on the bum of that sticky piston. And there's our clock. Next, we're going to build the bud that detects the tree growth. We're going to place a sticky piston below and in front of this observer. We're then going to take a note block, put it on top of the sticky piston, and then a solid block. We're going to take a regular piston and put it beside that solid block facing towards the back of the farm. Then we're going to take 2 blocks, put them in front of the regular piston, and 1 block down and to the left, another block. Then we're going to grab our sticky block of choice. For me, it's going to be honey. I'm going to put it in front of those 2 blocks, and then we're going to grab our non-sticky blocks and put them like so. Again, absolutely optional, not necessary, but I'm going to do it for the sake of this tutorial. Then we're going to grab our 2 redstone blocks. We're going to place one beside the sticky block over here. Then we're going to grab a solid block, put it under the sticky block. Then we're going to go down 2 and place our second redstone block there. Next, we're going to grab a solid block, go up 1, go down 1 with a regular block, and then back up 1. On the side of that first solid block, we're going to go over to this side and then up 1. And we're going to take 4 redstone dust and put it there, 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 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now we're going to grab a sticky piston and put it right beside that solid block. And then grab another solid block and put it here. This solid block gets extended forward so we don't double pulse the log converter. Then we're going to grab our piston, one of our pistons, We're going to put it up and to the right of that solid block. On top of that piston, we're going to grab a note block and we're going to put it on top of that. Then a solid block over top of that note block, and then an observer pointing down into that block. This will reset our bud switch. We're going to grab 2 blocks. We're going to staircase up 2. Now we can grab our rails and put them on top. If you want to use redstone dust, then you're going to need to make these blocks solid. Then we're going to put a solid block above the rails. Then we're going to drop back down and we're going to go over here, put a block here and there, or excuse me, a block over to the right there. Then we're going to place redstone dust on top like so. I wouldn't recommend putting redstone dust here yet. We will do that later, but it will make it easier if you do that later. Then we're going to do a good old-fashioned slab tower with glass. In this instance, you can do it like so. But I am in creative mode, so I'm just going to do it faster this way. And we're going to stop right at the height of the solid block we placed above the rails earlier. Then we're going to go up 1 and put some dust there. Now we're going to drop back down. We're going to grab all of our fence gates or trapdoors, and we're going to place all 11 of them right on top of each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And you should stop right at the same height as this block right here. Okay, then we're going to grab an observer. We're going to go here. We're going to detect the bottom trapdoor or fence gate and put it into a block. And then that block is going to power a sticky piston. We're going to go up, have an observer pointing into a block, observer on top of that, block, piston, observer, block, and then you get the point. We're going to do this same pattern almost all the way up to the top. We're not going to go all the way to the top. We're going to go almost all the way up to the top. Just 1 second. Let's finish building this. And we're going to stop right here. One below the top trapdoor. We're going to drop back down. We're going to do a similar thing. We're just going to go from the second trapdoor. We're going to go up, detect it, and then back and forth and back and forth all the way up to the top this time. Then we're going to grab our pistons and we're going to place them on the bums of these observers. We're going to point the observers into the pistons. Like so. Now we're going to grab an observer and we're going to take it from the second piston observer from the top, and we're going to detect it into our solid block that powers our rails. Now we can come back down and we can place that redstone dust I was telling you about. And if we've done everything properly, it should cascade up and reset our bud switch. Beautiful. Now we're going to grab observers. We're going to go back down here. We're going to detect the bottom. We're going to detect all of the trapdoors. We're going to go all the way up to the top, like so. We're going to drop back down. We're going to detect this bottom observer into a block, second observer into our dispenser, third observer into a block, and then observer, block, etc., all the way to the top. We're going to do a similar thing on the other side. Observer, block, observer, block, observer, block, all the way up to the top with the observers, but not with the blocks. We're going to stop one short, and we're going to place a piston facing towards the front of the farm instead. We're going to grab the rest of our note blocks. We're going to put them right beside the solid blocks, like so. Then we're going to grab a sticky piston. We're going to drop down here. We're going to place it this way. And we're going to place an observer pointing towards the front of the farm. This will get pushed over and power this dropper, which will dispense a fungus to us to replace down. Then we're going to get our observer detecting those note blocks, or the note block, into a sticky, into a regular piston, observer, sticky, regular, observer, sticky, regular, and you get the point. We're going to do that all the way up to the top. Okay, now we're going to grab a block. We're going to place it on top of that piston. We're going to get our comparator and our composter. Again, this doesn't have to be a composter, can be a torch. As long as you're outputting a signal strength of 4, it'll function, but it'll be more lag friendly if you use a comparator with a lower signal strength. At least a signal strength of 4. We're going to fill this up with 4. Let me reiterate that again. Composter. And we're going to fill this up to level 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We can double check to make sure that that is level 4 by looking at the composter and then checking its level over here in the F3 screen. We're then going to grab a block. We're going to go out like this. We're going to staircase up to, and then a solid block beside the last one, and we're going to slather redstone dust on all 4 of those blocks. At this point, we can grab our transparent blocks that prevent wart generation. We're going to put them 2 here and 2 here. Then we're going to grab our last 2 pistons, and we're going to place them here, 1, and then the other side here. And we're going to double check to see if this works. We're going to place down blocks in front of that block stream, just holding down right click like this. And it works. One final thing, and we'll be done. And we're going to place a block under our updating piston here, like so. All right, now we're going to test out the farm. I'm going to go drop down, game mode, survival. We're going to grab a fungus block, or a fungus. I've already filled this up with bone meal. We're going to turn on the farm, stay on the spot, and hold down right click. And it looks like the farm is working. All right. Hope you enjoy. Thanks for watching.